Hello everyone, welcome back to the second last lesson of the grammar series for VARC 1000. This is Palash. Today I'm going to look at a very important concept which is called as subject verb agreement. The primary things that we will deal today is with all in all some 21 rules which I've divided into 4 clusters. We'll look at certain conjunctive words, look at nouns and their altered usage. Certain nouns look singular, behave plural, some look plural, behave singular. So we should know about them. We should understand their usage. Some collective noun behaves differently. So let's look at their importance. Relative pronouns, as I said in the my second lesson, that nouns and pronouns have a different usage, and that we'll cover. I will elaborate further in subject verb agreement. So today we're going to look at the relative pronouns as well, that how are they framed around in these competitive exams for question asking. So a great concept to learn. And then certain prepositional phrase like a lot of, some of, all of, and so on and so forth. So what are these things that we are going to deal with, and how are questions framed around these concepts is something that we will learn today. So without much ado, let's get started with the video. The first importance to understand is about knowing what is subject verb agreement, or why should I learn some rules, because when whatever we speak makes perfectly sound, why should we learn these rules up, right? So the idea is that subject verb agreement, basically all in all some 20 rules I have condensed, and that is what we need to learn. The basic understanding of the subject verb concord or subject verb agreement is that a verb, and especially of the finite main verb, must always agree with their subjects, the doer or the agents, with the number and percent in person. So they must always agree in number, and they must always agree in person. For example, the singular noun must always take a singular verb form, and a plural noun must always take a plural verb form. So that's the basic senses. Now, if you look at them, why do we need them? We must study and remember them because while speaking, these rules are not observed. When we speak, we always agree according to the nearest subject. Okay, our mind just agrees the verb according to the nearest subject, because it will sound absurd if we agree with the farthest one. For example, look at this one, the state of affairs. While speaking, we'll say the state of affairs are. Is affairs is will sound not good because the multiple hisses sound is not followed. So we'll put are verbally, but actually are is wrong. We will have to put is, because the subject here is the state. So the state of whatever doesn't matter. The state is sure to cause him anxiety, right? Similarly, a course of lectures will be something that will verbally doesn't sound good, but is the correct answer, because a course is what their basic subject is. Similarly, the introduction is the subject, and therefore we'll go with the singular, reforms was. However, the basic sense of subject verb agreement is that nouns, which is the plural noun here, boys, we will go with like, which is a plural verb. Now, please remember, verbs work opposite to nouns. How? In nouns, when we make them plural, we add the s, es, ies, nen, etc. that I've dealt in the lesson 2. So if you have not watched that video, lesson 2 or lesson 3, I'm not very sure, but just watch the header with nouns and pronouns as a lesson. But verbs, when we become plural, we remove the s or es sound. Okay, so please remember, for example, he does his work. So he is the pronoun, which is a singular pronoun, and does is the singular verb form. Why? Because we do hota. We do our work. We is the plural noun and do is the plural verb form. So see, verb when plural, the S sound is removed. The does is the singular verb form. Often people get confused. So just remember this example. The boys like. And why do Britishers form this rule? Because otherwise it would have been created multiple hisses sound, which would look very funny or awkward to speak. Like the boys likes girls, boys likes fools rounds. It would have sound funny, and therefore that was the basic concord or the basic agreement that nouns, when made plural, they will be added s or es sound, while verb, when we plural, remove the s or es sound. Okay, similar goes with has and have. So has is having a s sound and therefore is a singular verb form. Have is the plural verb form. It doesn't have the s sound. Okay, it's the plural verb form. So that's the basic rule that we must keep in remember. Now, whatever upcoming rules are going to be clustered into conjunctive words, then whenever conjunctions are used like and, or, nor, each, along with, in addition to, except, what we should do. So we just keep them remember. So I've divided again into 4 clusters. Number 1 with the conjunctive words. So I think we'll deal with rule numbers 1 to 8 with the conjunctive words like and, along with, each, every, or, nor. The second thing we're going to deal in this lecture today is the nouns and the usage. Some plural looking noun which are singular, which looks plural, some plural singular looking nouns, some collective nouns, and then their exceptions. So 9 to 14 is something that is covered with this. And we have relative pronouns, the who, whom, all of, some of, one of, none. So I'll cover 15 to 17 is basically covered in the relative, and the 18 to 21 covers all other miscellaneous rules like fixed numbers. So 20 kilometers is or 20 kilometers are, or a number versus the number, certain gerunds, infinitives, what should be the rules be. So I'm sure that this is something that have been done in schools, but I'm just giving you a quick brush and also making you understand what are the important rules that must be remembered while formally writing up. So I consider the upcoming 21 rules as just at the tip of the iceberg, because this chapter is very vast. If you just Google this out, there might be some 80 rules, because see, every pronoun can be used in a different way, every noun can be used in a very different way, and then they can be clustered along, and therefore, there are a lot of things that can be made. But all in all, I have condensed them into and clustered them. These 4 clusters, if you just remember, I think rest everything you can understand with the application of these particular 2021 rules. So I will insist that you learn their application with examples, because in exam you will not be able to recall the rule, but you can easily be able to recall the example. Okay, the whole of the grammar should be done that way. But as I said, so if you're confused, examples come into save, right? So if you remember this, boys like hota tha, he does. So does is a singular verb form, do is the plural verb form, so verbs behave opposite. Even if you do not remember this, you remember this, you will be navigating yourself to the correct form. So please learn these 21 rules with examples. So this is, technically speaking, you have to remember some 42 things, 21 rules and 21 examples along with their exceptions to understand. So I've included the exceptions into this fact. So 21 is inclusive of exceptions. So there is no other exception that you have to learn separately. And then please remember, I have dealt these rules in isolation, because I'm going to deal with rule number 1, rule number 3, rule number 2, rule number 5, rule number 7. But an examiner might make a question regarding combining rule number 1 with a rule number 7, with a rule number 2, and so on and so forth. So just understand that if you learn them in isolation, that's the reason why I insist that you learn them with examples, because in exam you will easily be able to recall the example. So please, I insist, I repeat this, that learn this whole chapter along with examples, so it will become very easy. Fundamentally, you will not find yourself loaded with a lot of information. Now, having said that, let's start with the first segment, the first cluster, which is the conjunctive words cluster. I think the most important, the most frequently used conjunction is and. So before we jump into the rules, let's guess what are the correct options that you will place here. So for example, you can pause the video and then make your choices if with this option, and then we're going to shortly understand the rules today. Okay, so in verbally speaking, it is makes more appropriate, but R is going to be the right answer for this. Here, do is going to be the right answer. Is going to be the right answer here. Waits is going to be the right answer here. This is very interesting. Now, this was were and this was. Now, how? That's how we are going to remember the rules. That the rule number 1 and 2 deals with the conjunctive word and. The rule is very simple, that if two or more singular nouns are joined by the word and they are distinct, for example, fire and water, they are two distinct things. Therefore, I will try to always put plural verb form. So fire and water do not agree. Are your father and mother. Your father and mother cannot be one. So therefore, father and mother are two different, and therefore plural joined by the word and require a plural verb form. The exception to this fact, which is the rule number 2, is that if this and also, if these singular nouns are actually talking about one unanimous idea, or they are referring to the same person or thing. So if they are representing one same idea or they are representing a same person or thing, then they will require a singular verb form. For example, time and tide is one idea. So waits, not wait. Slow and steady wins the race. Though contemporary English, we do not use these rules anymore, but please remember, they will become a very interesting chapter for competitive exams. My friend and patron. So my friend and patron is this one guy. This is one person. These are not two different persons. So is not home. Bread and butter. Here, bread and butter, I know they are separate, but here you are considering them as food, and therefore as a meal, you should consider it as singular. You, he, and I are members of the board. You and he are. So simple rule number 1 and 2, when and denotes one singular, two singular, and they are distinct, then we go for plural verb form. If even they are two different things, they represent one idea, they present one person or one thing, they take a singular verb form. Okay, let's move ahead to the rule number 3 and 4. Try to guess this one. You can pause the video, make your choices, that what should we place here, which option will you go for. Okay, let me discuss. So the house along with its contents was insured. Gold as well as silver has fallen in price. He as well as his friends was arrested by the police. She along with her friends, except that lady, was creating a lot of noise. Now, you might have gone right at this one and probably this one, but that would have been a clever guess. Let's understand the rule. The rule is that with all these words, which are not and but try to join, conjunctive words like with, along with, as well as, besides, together with, in addition to, no less than, not, except, should be identified carefully. Why? Because the main subject here must be analyzed and the verb must agree according to the main subject. That is, if the main subject is singular, then we have a singular verb form. So we have a SVF. And if the main verb is plural, then we have a plural verb form. So what happens to this? This is a subordinate phrase, and this subordinate phrase depends upon the main subject. So main subject is which agrees the main verb. For example, the house was insured along with its contents. The houses were insured along with their contents. So in this case, if it would have been houses, then I would have said Delhi, that the houses along with their contents were in short. But if it's a house, we will go for its and was. Similarly, you're trying to say gold has fallen in price as well as silver. He was arrested by the police as well as his friends. She was creating a lot of noise along with her friends except that lady. So all this is not the main phrase or clause. These are dependent on the main subject, and therefore the main subject agrees. The main subject should always be identified and the whole verb agrees according to it. A very interesting rule. Okay, the ship in addition to its crew was, because the ship is the main subject. Platinum has fallen in price as well as gold. Kiran has won the prize. Harish was arrested together with his friends. He is guilty no less than you. No one knows it besides Ali. So always try to read these subordinate phrases or clauses differently. Okay, after it, let them not affect the main verb. Okay, moving ahead. Or nor. You can pause the video, take a guess. Okay, let me tell the answer. Dog has, cats have. In this case, the rule is very simple. We go by the nearest one. Okay, if the nearest verb is singular, we don't go by the main verb, we go by the nearest noun or the subject. So if the nearest subject is singular, we go by the singular verb form. If the nearest is plural, we go by the plural verb form. So just keep that in mind. For example, no nook or corner, so two singulars, was. Either the cat or the dog has been here. Neither praise nor blame seems to affect him. Hema or her friends have paid. Neither the director nor his employees were, because employees is the nearest, neither the employees nor the director was available for addressing. So just keep that in mind, that whenever it's an either or an either nor case, we go by the nearest. Okay, so that's the rule. That's in the algebraic form, A or B. We go by singular, A's or B. So B is the nearest singular. A or B's, plural. A's or B's, then also B's, then plural. Okay, now I've combined and made this question combining the rule number 4 with the rule number 3. So look at this. Neither the chairman along with his members nor the directors along with their admirers. So I think these are not going to relatively play a very significant role. I have to just determine, okay, neither the chairman nor the directors. So directors is the nearest, and therefore we'll go with were present. Similarly, neither the directors along with their admirers nor the chairman along with the, I think the rule is now chairman with was. So this is how I was saying that examiner, I have dealt the rules in isolation, but examiner might ask you a question in altogether. So just keep that in mind. So rule number 5, also continuing on the either on, but now with different person. So first person, second person, or third person. Okay, for example, so again we go with the nearest. With the person also we go with the nearest one. Either he nor or I am mistaken. Neither he nor you are incorruptible. Either she or they have left. Okay, so a rule that we have done in our lesson 3, the nouns and the pronoun, the person rules 2, 3, 1 and 1 through 3 can also be applied to make a mixed question to check your concept. So just revise that. So in a normal sense, in a general way, we go by 2, 3, 1, and when we are guilty, we go by 1, 2, 3. The arrangement. So just keep that in mind. If you have not watched that video, go along, watch the video, lesson 3, that's nouns and pronouns. Okay, so either he or I. So these are the same continued rules. So for example, either I or he am mistaken. Neither my friends nor he are to blame. Okay, nor he is to blame, sorry. This is he, person. So we'll go according to the person. Okay, if this was some else, then we could have gone for the singular plural rule, because then it's a number. So friends are the numbers. The friends are not person. So just keep that in mind. Okay, then we have certain determiners. The determiners like each, every, everyone, many are, either of, neither of, many are. Please remember, many is plural, but many are is treated as singular. Anybody, nobody, no one separately must always take a singular form. Okay, there has no exception. So whenever you see these words, blindly go for a singular word form. Okay, each boy in the class was late. Neither of the two men was strong. Men laga hai, but fir bhi we will go with was, because you are trying to say neither of them actually. So not even a single one was strong. Each of the substances is found in India. Many a man does not know his own interest. Everyone in the group takes turn. Each of us has a smartphone. Nobody ever goes to that fort. Okay, restrictively singular. Okay, they will be always singular. Extension, even if they are joined by and, they will always require a singular verb. For example, every boy and every girl was present. Each, this would be women. Okay, each woman and every man was allowed. Every teacher and every student was enjoying the picnic. It sounds absurd, but don't go by the sound. I'm telling you honestly, formal written English will allow only the singular usage with these determiners. Let's move to the next segment. So this was my rule number 1 to 8. Next segment 9 to 14 deals with the nouns and their altered usage. Now, certain nouns misbehave or are used differently. So you can pause the video, take your guesses, and then I'll tell you the answers of this one, and then we'll also look at the rules. Okay, so news is good, maths is a boring subject, his jeans are tight, scissors are kept, the wages of sin is death, the labor were given their wages. So this is very interesting. All possible means has been or have been, both are actually correct. His means were reduced. Isme only were is correct. So again, a very interesting usage. Police have arrived. Police is corrupt. Again, a very interesting use. Crowd was more violent. The crowd were mobilized. Again, a very interesting use. People have their right. Cattle have gone missing. Now, if you confused that what and what is the basis of this all, let's remember the 9 to 14 rules. Some nouns which are plural in form but singular in meaning require a singular verb form, like economics, innings, politics, mechanics. They are nouns, they end with s, so they look plural, but they are singular, and therefore we should go with the singular verb form. So news is true, mathematics is a branch of study, politics is a dirty game. The word pains and means can take either a singular or a plural, but construction should be consistent. For example, great pains has been taken, have been taken, both are correct, but make sure if it's a complex sentence, it's a big sentence, then you keep it consistent. You can't say half of the sentence was singular and half was plural. All possible means, as I said, has and have, therefore both of them are correct in this case. The means employed by you is or are sufficient, both are correct. However, when means signify money, it is used restrictively plural. Okay, when money, while means is making money, then it's restrictively plural. My means were much reduced. His means are ample. So in this case, when I said his means were reduced owing to gambling habits, it's about money, and therefore only were will be acceptable. Let's look at the next one. Now, above rules are not followed in these nouns. Scissors, tongs, pliers, spectacles, goggles, fetters, trousers, drawers, pants, jeans, socks, arms, riches are believed to be something as they look plural, they are singular, but still they will take a plural verb form. For example, my jeans are tight, the trousers don't match, my socks are dirty, the scissors were kept. Because you have to use them when they have to make it as a singular, you will have to use a pair of. So if I say up my pair of jeans, my new pair of jeans, then I'm going to say isn't a good fit. The brown pair of shoes, then I'm going to say is. Okay, so by the same thing, I have marked the scissors are kept, my jeans are tight. Okay, in this case, wages, see, in the first case, let me tell you about the fifth and the sixth. In this case, the wages represent a result. So I use it singularly. But in the second, again, wages represent money. In this, the wages is money. And therefore, money restrictively plural. But here the wages was result. So just keep that in mind. Similarly, in this case, the 9th and the 10th, which are interesting questions. The police, people, cattle, they are always restrictively plurals. Okay, restrictively plural. They will catch always the plural verb form. Now, in this case, the exception was there. This was an exception because here you are not referring to actually police, you are referring to police department. How do I come to know? Obviously, this is something that is what is called as the branch of grammar which deals with pragmatics. The context suggests what the usage can be. If you're not clear with the pragmatics, watch my lesson 2 where I dealt with parts of speech. I've given 4 important errors: syntax, there can be semantics, there can be pragmatics, and there can be morphological errors. So pragmatics deals with the context in which we use the conversation. So police department is the implication, and therefore is corrupt. So police department is corrupt. Even if I'm not writing it while speaking, I might use police department to signify that, so to imply, to be correct, that I must not be misunderstood. So but while writing, even if I say police is corrupt, it automatically means that I'm referring to a department. Okay, look at the 12th and the 13th. So I said this: police have arrived. Crowd was more violent than the previous occasion. Police are looking. Okay, police are looking for clues. People in the village are building new road. So cattle, people, gentry, poultry, police are always going to be plural. Okay. Some nouns are always plural, like tidings, ashes, savings when it deals with money, belongings, lodgings, nuptials, stairs, outskirts, clothes, etc. For example, please ensure that the belongings are delivered. The outskirts of Frankfurt are beautiful. My clothes are wet. Her savings were spent. So just keep them in mind. I think, guess the meaning of this one. Then pause the video. This was a MyCat 2015 questions based on the collective noun. The committee, in this case, by the way, both the sentences A and D are correct, but B and C will definitely be wrong because they will change the collective noun ka consistency. They are not being consistent. You can't treat half singular, half plural. So has, there, and have its will be wrong. So you treat committee as either a singular and then you make it thoroughly singular. So committee has its, or you say thoroughly plural and say have there. Now, I'll give you answer for this one a little bit later, but this answer is going to be first, but this answer is going to be B, not was. Okay, they were divided on one major viewpoint. So the jury cannot be divided, the jury members will be divided. So what is the rule of the collective noun? The collective nouns, when you say, when they are representing one whole idea, they will always be a single verb, a single unit, will be always a singular verb form. But when they are thought of being composed of their individuals, they will be a plural, they will take a plural verb form. Again, how will I remember this? Obviously, the context, the pragmatics will play a very important role. They will not give you these simple sentences. They will give you a context before, and then they will signify that, you know, it is treated as a plural or it is treated as a singular. So remember, whenever it's they are thought of the individuals of which it is composed of, it will require a plural verb. So, for example, the crew was taken prisoners, and the collective crew will not be taken prisoners, right? So the members will be taken prisoners, right? The jury were reconsidering their decision. So here we can say that they were reconsidering their decision, see, they're using it plural. Its decision, singular. So I have a hint and therefore verb. I cannot use was here. The team dash appended note dash report. So now in this case, you are not clearly signifying that you're dealing the team in an individual. So collectively the team submitted the report or appended the note, or they have individually submitted. So here in this case, if you put has, then you put its, and if you put have, you put there. You have to use and maintain consistency. So now if you understood this rule, I'm sure that this you could have got. So second and third will be wrong, because see, were divided it and was divided they is wrong. So they are not consistent. So they are inconsistent. What you need to keep in mind is, now was divided it, this is consistent, and were divided while they. So this was two correct answers, but see, remember, they will not be divided in opinion collectively. They will be divided in opinion by members. Members will be divided. So fourth is a better answer. It's just like this. Jury were divided on a major viewpoint. You cannot be collectively divided. You can be collectively united, but cannot be collectively divided. So keep that in mind. And that finishes my rule number 9 to 14, the cluster 2, which deals with the nouns and pronouns. Another determiners like no, none, and no one. This is not same. Just be careful. None, when implies no one and not one, it requires a singular verb form. Okay, I've been looking for inspiration, but none has struck me. None was injured, because none here implies no one. No one was injured. We interviewed 10 candidates and no one was good. How do we pick up the implication? Again, pragmatics. The context needs to be understood. Pragmatics playing a very significant role. In all the above sentences, the none implies not even a single one. None of us was present at the meeting. So not even a single one of us was present. Okay. However, exception to the rule, when the word none implies more than one thing, then it requires a plural verb form. I have been looking for ideas to start business, but none have struck so far. None of these facts, plural, are true. You're not implying not even a single one is true. In denials for things non-human objects, the usage is as per the number of objects. Was there any letter for me? So this is singular. No, there was none for you. So we go with singular verb form. Are there any pens? Plural. Noun, plural object. No, there are. Go with the plural verb form. None of his poems, plural, are now read. So when it's non-human, non-living being, then we go with the number. But for persons, no one uses a singular, and none as plural. Is there anybody in the room? No, there is no one. Is there any boys in the play? No, there are none. Okay, so remember, no one represents a singular and none represents a. So quite conflicting, but if you just use them regularly, I believe you will get it. Let's move to the relative pronoun. Look at this one. He is one of those guys who is or are always late. She's one of the people who does not or don't give a damn. He is one of the cricketers who is or are fit. Now, if you are wondering upon what is wrong or what is so special with them, all have to be singular, you're wrong. This is a relative pronoun. Okay, you can go pause the video, go back to my video lesson number 3, watch the nouns and the pronouns, and especially the relative pronoun. You'll understand the restrictive and the non-restrictive usage again. So here who is not referring to he. Here who is referring to guys, and guys is a plural verb, plural noun, and therefore will require are always be. But the same doesn't happen here. Here we have a comma, and the moment a comma is introduced, the who refers to she, and therefore who doesn't. Here again, who doesn't refer to he. Who without a comma refers to the relative subject, the cricketers, and therefore cricketers are fit. Okay, this is the relative antecedent. What is antecedent? Antecedent is what the pronoun refers to, antecedent of the pronoun. So if the relative antecedent is singular, you go with the singular verb form. If it's plural, you go with the plural verb form. The rule is very simple, but the interesting point is that you need to recognize that this comma will make the subjects change. Okay, so are we supposed to go with the nearest one? No, not necessarily. If there is a comma, we go with the farthest or whatever it is refers to. Okay, let's not deal with nearest or the farthest. Okay, so he is one of those guys who has never cheated in exam will become wrong, because guys is the nearest one which he refers to. This is the relative antecedent. So those guys and not he is the relative subject, and therefore guys have never cheated. He is one of those people. People becomes the, because this is without a comma. So who are always late. He's one of those cricketers who are, because cricketers is the relative subject. Now look at this one. One of the findings of the recent experiments was published. Why? Because there is no relative pronoun. There is no who. Okay, so one of is the subject. So one of the finding. One was published. No relative subject. Amit is one of those men who. So now who becomes men and not Amit? If this would have been a men comma, then Amit is. So is those one of those men. Men take advantage of others. So very interesting rules. Don't go by the nearest. Observe the relative antecedent and then pick up. The last cluster, the 18 to 21, the gerunds usage. Gerunds are treated singular. What are gerunds? Go back to the lesson number 4 or 5, I'm not sure, but go to the gerund lesson where we have dealt with all the verb types. So it is the lesson number 5, I believe. Yes, 6 is the tense. Yes, it's the 5 where I've dealt with all the verb forms: gerunds, participles, infinitives, transitive, intransitive, definite, indefinite. What are they? What are main verbs? What are auxiliary verbs? What are modal verbs? What are linking verbs? And so on and so forth. So gerunds, when verbs are treated as nouns, then they are used as singular subject. Okay, so standing in water was a bad idea. Smoking is injurious to health, because smoking is, you're referring to it as an activity. Okay, however, again, rule number 1 comes in handy here. When things are joined by the and they refer to two different things, then you refer to them as a plural verb form. So swimming in the pool and playing drums. So because this is now Two things are my hobby. Singing and dancing, if this is one phrase, has. If this is not a phrase, then have. Because then you're referring to two activities and you're just adding it by. And so singing and dancing have been our top focus. So simple gerund usage. Then third last rule, a number is always treated with plural verb form and the number is always treated as singular verb form. A very interesting. So a number of patriots have been imprisoned, a number of viewers have complained, because this is not a fixed number. But the number of protesters that were arrested is 6. The number of people lined up for tickets was 400. The number of voters is increasing. So the number is increasing. Of doesn't matter. Okay, so I'll hope you'll keep this in mind. A number goes with the plural and the number goes with the singular. Now, last one, prepositional phrases. The phrases like some of, a lot of, a lots of, plenty of, इनका क्या करें? So, a majority of. So, the interesting rule is that whatever it signifies, उसके हिसाब से it is decided. For example, a large number of women is plural, so we go with the plural verb form. A number of students, again plural, and a number are absent, plural verb form. A majority of voters are illiterate, but remember, majority when used in its old sense. For example, if I remove. If I say majority of voters, yeah, majority, not I remove voters also. Majority is illiterate. Okay, keep that in mind. If majority is used without any prepositional phrase of anything or a number before it, majority singularly itself on its own, if it stands, it's always singular. On its own is always singular, but here it is of voters, so plural, are illiterate. A lots of books are lying on the floor. Lots of may require both singular and plural depending upon the number of the subject or the object it's referring to. For example, lots of water is, because water is uncountable. So is lots of people are. People are countable. Okay, lots of with an infinitive will always be singular. Like there is lots to be done. Infinitive. Okay, these words like a good, great deal, most of, part of, accordingly, couple of, rest of, handful of, half of, some of, 1/3 of, any fraction by that matter will depend upon the object. For example, plenty of water is required. Plenty of oranges, plural, were there. A couple of changes are made. Changes. A handful of men agree. Okay, you can also remember it like 40% of the pipe was rusted, because this is uncountable now. But if I say 40% of the pipes, then it will be were rusted, because this is now countable. And the last rule, when a plural noun denotes some particular amount or quantity, it's considered as a whole, as a unit, and therefore it requires a singular verb form. For example, $75,000. This could have been 75 crores, 75 millions. If it's a fixed unit, is a large sum. 5 kilometers is a long distance. 3 parts of the work is still left. However, when the collectives are applied before the noun, then the singular noun will require a plural verb form. For example, 6 dozen. So this dozen is a collective of 12. So 6 dozen cost only ₹40. 5 score men. Score, again, a collection of 20. So 5 score, even though you are putting a number here, this is an exception of this fact. So 5 score men were present. You can't say was present. So I hope you'll keep this in mind and you'll try to learn them. I think you should by heart them. Only then you'll be able to remember. Okay, now I'm sure that you've finished the exercise, so I'm just discussing the answers. Neither of restrictively singular. So was the manager and the director has two singulars, and this is one person only. Many are restrictively singular. Was one of players was subject is one of either Meera or her friends. We go with the nearest are none of his books, non-living objects, books, we have plural, are the quality of shoes, subject is quality, was not good. 10,000 rupees, a fixed sum, is a good sum. Neither the manager nor the workers nearest are 50 kilometers, a fixed unit, is Sunil, the main subject, has won the competition as well as his friends. The size is the main subject, is irregular. The Midnight Children is one book, was written by the jury divided. Okay, so members were divided. So jury members, jury were divided. My friends, main subject. This is as, huh? It's title. My friends, main subject, were present. My friends were present as well as I. So I hope you've got them all correct. Okay, now here we needed to find out which is the incorrect. So the Lincoln Chronicle is so long and complex. So this seems correct. That most writers chooses is wrong. Most writers choose. Okay, so definitely there is an error in B. Okay, so this can't be the answer. A single India on which to concentrate. So there are books, perfect. On Lincoln's depression, perfect. On his Christianity, on his career in law, on his assassin, and on his cabinet. Parallelism is also maintained. Parallelism is also the right, is the next last chapter that we are going to discuss in the series. So all of them cannot become the answer. So answer is only B, because only B had error. Writers choose. Okay, question number 2. Either the manager, so to find the incorrect one, that is why I've marked the answer as B. Here, incorrect one. Either the manager or the workers in the factory is wrong, because workers is the nearest one. So R, incompetent. So A has an error. Incompetence often leads, correct, because incompetence is singular. So this is correct. This cannot be the answer. Failure as well as incompetence are wrong, because failure is the main subject. So failure is like measles, right? Which irritate, relative pronoun, which irritates. Okay, so measles, though looks plural, irritate. Okay, and then boss, and so I hope this is measles is the relative subject of which. So this has error. This has error. And boss and mentor tell, wrong hai, because boss and mentor are one person. So tells, which irritates, is. So A, C, D, and E. Okay, they are incorrect. So only B was correct. Good question. So many errors. Okay, question number 3. The student council, singular. So were is wrong. The majority believes. Okay, the majority believes, singular hoga. The number of residents who have, perfect hai, because residents, okay, what he believes in and what he participates, and aa gaya. So what he believes and what he practices are. So ACD, his means were much reduced owing to heavy loss. This is perfect. So A, B, okay, okay. The number of residents who have been residing in Seta Vihar are quite small. Okay, this is also wrong. Who the number is quite small, right? So A, B, C, and D are incorrect. Okay, let's look at the fourth one. Sum of the pocket money were, it will be is, was, I mean, sum of the pocket money singular before the remaining went missing. That is correct because the money went missing, right? So this is wrong. The discipline committee have ordered a probe in the, so I think it should be has, because there the collectively will be a thorough search of suspects' belongings. So search is the subject, was carried out, and the committee chairman gave, that is past tense, so perfectly fine. Neither Priyanka's night case nor the other night cases we checked in the dorm has helped us, have, because we go with the nearest cases. So A, C, and E, the second one. So I think good questions, and these are the questions that can be asked. It's complex. If we don't remember them, we go by the sound and we'll make silly errors. So before we end, let me give you a quickly recap what we learned with the analytical classification of the subject-verb agreement or the subject-verb concord. So if you were paying attention today, you understood singular nouns requires a singular verbs and plural nouns requires plural verb. I divided these 21 rules into 4 clusters. The rule number 1 to 8 were about conjunctive words, where along with their exceptions, with and, or, nor, along with, 9 to 14 were about nouns in their altered usage, like jeans are tied, jury were divided. Rule number 15 to 17 were about pronouns and expressions, none of. 18 to 19 were about a number, the number, and gerunds. Gerunds treated as singular. And then the last one, prepositional phrases like some of, a lots of, a lot of, plenty of, depends upon what the subject is. So that's all from my side. I think in the next class, we will deal the last lesson. We'll deal with the most asked concepts, that is parallel construction and the modifier errors. We'll look at a lot of applications because there are a lot of questions that these exams, competitive exams, ask on terms of parallelism. This is also called as parallelism and modifiers. So just stay tuned for it. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.